All right. Hello, everyone. We are starting off our summer read along. I was telling Victoria, Christy, I don't have the same great opinion as last couple of years. So it should be an interesting discussion, I think. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start off with my opinions because you guys can probably end on a higher note. I just was really unimpressed. It was kind of like there's so much going on and it's like there's no transition time. And I was just like, I just couldn't keep up with it. And I mean, I was not really prepped for getting back into reading such a big book in the summer. Like last summer, I'd read a section a day or a section every 2 days. And I kind of left this all until like 4 days ago. So because I just was not prepped for it.
Yeah.
And then I had the worst week in like 6 months at work. So then I was trying to do all this stuff. So it wasn't a great time. It could have been a lot of factors together. But yeah, I was just kind of like, what am I reading? Let's just finish this chapter kind of mentality. So hopefully it turns around. What about you guys?
Oh, you have an idea of what your reading needs to look like for the next 2 weeks. So maybe
I do. I now am well prepared. Yep. So which one of you wants to go first with your opinions on the book so far?
Go ahead, Christy.
Okay, well, so I'm totally the opposite. I have trouble with Dickens because he's very wordy, which I know is completely hypocritical for somebody whose favorite author is Fyodor Dostoevsky. But I have trouble with wordy authors generally. Dostoevsky is kind of an exception. I usually like really concise writers. And Dickens is just not concise. So, and this book is not concise, but something about it, I'm enjoying like every word. I'm just really enjoying it. I'm not even super into all the characters, but just the writing, like the humor, the characterization, I'm interested in it all. And towards the end of the section that we were just reading, like a mystery kind of crops up. So now I'm like reading quicker than I was. And it's definitely difficult. Like it's not easy to read. I had trouble with it, but I was reading like a little bit every day. And I think that really helped it feel manageable for me. So, which I'm sometimes not good about doing that. So we'll see if I'm able to keep up that pace. And sometimes also the longer a book is, I start to peter out towards the end. So we'll see what happens. But right now I'm like fully engaged and enjoying it.
I'm glad someone is. I'm sure a lot more than someone is, but I'm glad it's not just me.
It's definitely not just you. I've heard from people.
Yes, I've heard that. So I'm like relieved. Victoria?
Yeah, I am really loving it too. So I am in that camp. And I'm very thankful because it seems that when I saw opinions about this book, it was either people were really either struggling with it and it's like their least favorite Dickens, or it was people's favorite Dickens. So I'm hoping that I end up falling in the favorite Dickens camp. But I was just saying before we went live that I think it helped that I've read some other Dickens recently, some earlier Dickens, and so I've kind of had his writing style a little bit more acclimated to me in recent times, and so I think that's played a big factor in my ability to read Bleak House and kind of get immersed in Dickens again. But yeah, and I'm really enjoying his critiques of the court and the ridiculousness that he points out. I'm enjoying the social critique. I'm enjoying the characters. I'm enjoying all the wild and wacky characters, and it just reminds me, like, yes, this is what Dickens' strong point is these colorful characters who are all there to kind of like make a point and like stand for something that he's poking fun of, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And I will say I've had to almost like drop everything else that I'm physically reading because it is time consuming. This book has been a time consuming read for me. I'm not going through it quickly, and that's fine. I've been enjoying going through it slowly, but I have had to like really just focus on Bleak House to like get as much out of it as I could. So I can definitely see how reading it in 4 days, Naomi, might be difficult and might lead to a bad experience. Because I'm finding I can't cram this book. I have to read it in chunks.
Yeah, my coworker, I was telling her, I'm like, I need to read 200 pages. She's like, oh, you'll get that done in an hour. I'm like, maybe normally, but not this one.
Yeah, this one takes, there's a lot more to chew on.
Yeah. Yeah, there were tons of characters to keep track of. Like, I felt like every time a chapter ended, I was like, here's a whole new group of people.
Yeah.
And you're like,
so many.
It happened a couple times that I realized, oh, this is actually a character that's been mentioned earlier, because I would flip back through it, but I didn't realize it when I was reading the chapter. Oh, I've already seen this person. Like, it was so long ago.
Yep.
Lou says, I love Esther. Yes, I also love Esther. Esther's awesome.
Yes, she's definitely a good narrator. But then again, it's a strange narration. I feel like it's partly first person and partly third person. And
yeah.
Kate says the narration is definitely the highlight of the book. Dickens' more literary style just doesn't gel with me. Yeah, I think that's kind of me too.
Oh, that is fascinating, because that's like the exact opposite of how I feel. I feel like, I mean, I like Esther, but she's kind of boring.
Oh, really?
So I'm here for the writing, basically, and I'm more interested in what's going on with the Jarndyce. Is that how you pronounce it?
I've always pronounced it Jarndyce.
Okay, yeah. That I'm more interested in that storyline, I think, because there's mystery too, like who is Esther? Who the heck is Esther? But, I think the Jarndyce mystery is dragging me along.
All the characters are tied to it in some way, and we're like unraveling the pieces, or like revealing little by little the threads of how people are related to the Jarndyce case. And it's interesting as more and more ties are shown, that it's kind of a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you need like one of those maps, like with all the strings for like a murder mystery. Like you just need to have all those connection pieces, being like, this person's this story, this person's that story. Oh, and this person's in here.
Yes,
it's a lot, but I feel like it is well constructed, even though I'm not fully wrapped my head around there yet. Like I haven't got there, but I feel like once it's all in my head, I'll be able to nail it down.
Yes, I would imagine this book on a reread, especially once you have all the pieces, would be very fascinating to look at how he constructed it.
And I feel like the mystery is just so, like, it kind of just snuck in. I know we only read 14 chapters out of 66, but like it just kind of snuck there. It wasn't really obvious before until there's suddenly a dead body, and it was like, this is the person who no one's met before, and I was just kind of like, I'm not invested in the mystery, because it's just like it just came out of nowhere for me. But then again, I've read tons of mysteries that are like modern classics and modern day, so different style, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that. It did seem like totally out of the blue. Like, whoa. For me, if a death happens in a piece of like in like a classic, to me, I'm like, yes, this is for me. I don't know why. I think it's the Russianness that I am attracted to of that. Yes, let's talk about death.
Yeah, it's interesting. And his name is Nemo, which is like no one. So is that going to be the big mystery? I don't know. Feels like there's a lot of things that are obviously like big question marks, but I don't care enough right now. I'll figure that out as we go.
I think Nemo being like no one, I think it's just symbolic for no one knows who he is.
Yeah.
And that he is no one in the mystery. Like we don't know. To the reader, he is also no one. So I think it's symbolic in that way.
Yeah.
I thought that the lady, what's her name? The rich lady, I can't remember her name. the one who
Deadlock.
sent.
Yeah, Lady Deadlock.
Yeah, Lady Deadlock. I think
Yeah, she knows something.
she knows something about him.
Mm-hmm. But we don't.
But we don't. Yes.
Have either of you read a mystery from Dickens before? Because I haven't, and I don't know if he has any other mysteries. So it's like I'm trying to figure out. Also, I was reading this, like, what is his mystery style? If this is his only mystery, or if this is the first mystery that I've read, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I don't know. I can't really recall.
Because, like, I read Great Expectations, and that's not a mystery. Like, there's some like questions happening, but there's not a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't read a mystery from him, so I'm just wondering if this is a thing that he goes into a couple of times or not.
Not so far that I've read.
Is Edwin Drood a mystery?
I don't know. Anyone in the comments know?
I haven't read that.
Let us know.
Penny's here. Hi, Penny.
Yeah, lots of people are commenting. So let's see. Katie did make a bunch of videos. This is when I first tried reading it. And so she did a breakdown every couple.
Oh yeah, hers are always so good. So I'll have to go find those.
Yeah,
nice.
And I see a lot of people were cutting it close. I was cutting it close. I did till 12:30 last night.
Me too. Me too. I was up late.
Yeah, there's oh goodness, it's hard, right? Like, this is a different kind of read, I think, than Count Monte Cristo and Lemez. Like, you're getting in for a big chunk with Lemez when you were like, this is a chapter that's gonna be rough. But this was just, it didn't look that way.
Yeah, very different from both of those reads. I think Les Mis and Count of Monte Cristo are much more straightforward as well in what they're what they're directly saying to the reader, and Dickens is not as much. So yeah. It's very different style for a big book.
He like throws things in at the very end of a chapter that is like really important, like foreshadowing and stuff, and it's like really easy to miss. It's like,
it'll be like a couple sentences.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is the future direction of the book, and we just have spent like 0.1% of the book so far on what the future is going to be.
It's just so mind-boggling how he just throws it in there and then he just like moves on, and it's like, but that doesn't relate to the next sentence that you're going to write. Like, you're just foreshadowing something, but it's nothing going forward. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting though that because like it's serialized, like the Count of Monte Cristo was serialized. So both of them had to keep an audience engaged after they published that chapter or section. So
was Bleak House serialized? I think
all of Dickens was serialized.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
I think all of his books were serialized. All in Good Time says Our Mutual Friend has a mystery element. So there's another one. Haven't read that one.
Me neither.
I honestly have to psych myself up to read Dickens every single time. Every time when I read, well, aside from this one, I think, like I said, a lot of factors are going in. But every time I've been like, oh, actually, his writing's really good. And every time I'm surprised. And then I'll read it. And then I won't pick him up for another 6 months, 10 months, whatever, until I'm prompted to. And then I say, oh, right, he's really good. Then I go back into it. But I never pick it up without being super prompted. So this is a good time to get back into him. Try him again.
Oh, good. Kate says that she promises that the ending ties everything together beautifully. So,
yeah,
we'll need that, I'm sure.
Thank you for the reassurance.
Yes.
Lou says that, yeah, your ADD is in full swing. Yeah, it's very confusing.
I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah, someone else mentioned a character map. There's a comment.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
That's a great idea.
That is.
I need to get one too.
Kate, how? Can we have a Victober video, a character map for Victober?
Yeah. Honestly, some Victorian books need character maps or character lists and family trees and whatever else. Is it just a Victorian book thing? I don't know, but it feels like a lot of those books have that relationship drama.
It's a Dickens thing.
True. Very true.
We mentioned having to reread a lot, and I feel that. I've had to reread everything twice.
Yeah. And so I read it in 4 days, but what made it longer is I'd finish, be like, okay, I read to chapter 8 or whatever. And then I'd walk away from the book because I'd go back to work or something. And then I'd go back to chapter 9 and be like, where am I in the story? So I have to reread parts of chapter 8, which made it even longer to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's just like, I can't remember where I left off now and what in the world happened there. It's just felt convoluted.
Bit rough. Yeah, it's a bit rough.
Yeah.
Kate says, I do not feel qualified for that.
Drat.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else to add because, like I said, not impressed. But if anyone else has anything that you want to discuss, I mean, we could do character talk. Who's your favorite character so far? I don't know. I don't have a favorite so far. Unless it's Miss Jillyby.
Oh, she's cute. Yeah.
Who hates her mother and everything that her mother's doing.
Yeah, you really root for Miss Jellyby to kind of get out of the oppression that she's under. And man, her mom, that was just like such a sad scene to see her house and the kids all like kind of just neglected. And you're just like, what is wrong with this lady?
I remember reading that years ago when I tried to read the first 90 pages. And I think Katie from Books and Things, she's made a video saying that that's like a depiction of how they were so concerned about the poor elsewhere and not taking care of people in their own home. Like the women who were all concerned about the society. It was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate to what Dickens is showing here.
Yeah. And there's another character as well who shows, I think like in the following chapter possibly, of what's her name? Is it
the one with the
boys?
They
go to the bricklayer's house. Who's the lady who goes to the bricklayer's house?
Was that the lady who with all of her sons?
Yes.
That she dragged around with her?
Yeah.
I don't remember her name. But
Rouncewell, maybe, or I don't remember her name. But yeah, that's the same.
This is what it is. The crazy named characters you don't know.
There's a lot. It's just a lot. I love the crazy names though, because Dickens pokes fun at like they represent something that he's trying to poke fun at or satirize, and their names often are tied into that, like Mr. Crook.
Yep.
You instantly know what kind of character he is.
Yeah, and Mr. Skimpole, I'm just so mad at him. Like, does he have a mental disability or is he just irresponsible?
Oh no, I think he's just irresponsible.
Because the way they're saying it is like, oh no, he thinks like a child. It's like, I think he's capable. No, he's just conning everybody out of their money and not taking care of his responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just manipulative.
Which is just not great. I mean, you tend to see a lot of bad representation of disabilities in classics. That tends to be a thing, right? But this is just when someone's faking it, and I hate it.
Yeah, he's not a good guy.
Anyone else that stood out?
I just adore PP. Anytime PP is on the stage, I'm just like, I love this child.
Yes. He's almost like an Oliver Twist character a little bit, who is just like this rogue child just running around and no one cares about him. Except for Esther. Luckily Esther cares about him.
Yes. Thank the Lord. Somebody cares about him.
Yes. There needs to be somebody who cares about that child, and I guess that is a good thing about Dickens. He does talk about how the children are orphaned or not taken care of, or
he definitely cared about that. I mean, Oliver Twist is an example of that really bothered Dickens, the way that England treated the poor and dealt with orphans and the downtrodden, that they were basically just thrown to the system and the system was corrupt. And that's a lot of the same themes of Bleak House, is the system is corrupt.
I'm wondering what the name of the book, because like it's just so many characters, and like Bleak House itself isn't bleak. So why is the book called Bleak House?
There's if anybody has this edition, there's some commentary on that and like the different working titles that he had. He went through like a bunch of different titles. I'd have to find it, but he settles on Bleak House. But yeah, I also find it interesting that Bleak House is actually a very pleasant place so far. So one of the most pleasant places, but it's called Bleak House.
For some reason. Nobody knows why.
For some reason.
Do you kind of feel like the case is a character in the book? Because it kind of felt like the first chapter to me when being introduced, the case kind of felt like its own character.
Yeah.
With all the layers that were going on. And it was confusing, but it felt like a character introduction or something when they were talking about it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the case looms over everyone's lives and is controlling everyone's lives in some way. Everyone is sort of tied to it. So it's like the villain. The court in general is the villain. That's kind of the shadowing over everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
And courts haven't changed much over years, depending on how much money you have or the right situations. But it's interesting.
Yeah, the fog at the beginning.
Yeah,
the fog being heavy over the town, over the court.
London's ivy.
It definitely sets the mood.
Yeah, I loved the first chapter.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot, but I'm also totally confused because, like I said, wasn't taking it in. But if anyone else has anything that they want us to talk about or you can think of, because I'm drawing a blank. And it's only been 20 minutes, which means it's not good for the rest of the summer.
I have some quotes that I wrote down that I enjoyed.
That's what I was hoping for.
Let's see. I have to pick one.
You see, Janelle would have had those quotes like memorized.
Yeah.
Remember this one. So, yeah, we're reading for Janelle this summer.
Yes. Definitely.
Oh, Esther's whole backstory. I wrote down a quote from her because it was so pathetic and sad. And imperfect as my understanding of my sorrow was, I knew that I had brought no joy at any time to anybody's heart, and that I was to no one upon earth what Dolly was to me. I was just like,
yeah.
Her only friend was her doll.
Yeah. It's interesting. She's kind of like just the eyes to situations. I don't know. In some situations, at least. And then her relationship with Ada was interesting, like Kate says. She's kind of like a mother figure, even though they're not that different in age. They can't be that different in age.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be around the same age.
And Esther acts so much older.
Yeah.
She's like the wise narrator. But she's just like a good friend. She's a good friend to Ada and to Richard, and she's just like happy for them and like wants the best for them. Esther's just like a really good friend.
I'm curious how she's related to the case, because she's been requested, even though she's not an inheritor, and she's just coming into the situation, and they're like, we really want you to come and be like, you're now the guardian, or they're your guardian, but you're not inheriting. You're not. It's just, why is she there?
Well, it seems that Jarndyce just took an interest in her, like found out about her and took her in. I think that's the only way she's tied, is just Jarndyce found an interest in her. Like I don't remember how she came to his attention, but
that's my question. Like, why is he, because if she'd never met him before, then why is he coming to her house and being like, yeah, in a couple of years, like if you want. Then.
It might have been explained how he knew about her. I forget if it was a relative or something.
For anyone who doesn't know, we don't know the ending. None of us have read this book before. So we might be wrong. We might be completely right. And we are not sure. We don't want spoilers for future sections either. We want to just discover. but we love talking about what we've already read. So you got a lot of tabs there.
Yes. Yes. This is the kind of book that I love. It has like 30 tabs in the first 14 chapters.
I lost my tabs. I was gonna do the plots and the characters, and then I'd lost my tabs and was like, I really don't care anymore.
I get that feeling, and that may be me later. We never know.
So did you tab anything interesting?
Yeah. So I was gonna. I love the idea of sharing quotes. So I thought, I could share a couple quotes too. So I loved this one. I had youth and hope. I believe beauty. It matters very little now. Neither of the three served or saved me. That's Miss Summerson, I think, very early on in the book, leading Ada and Richard and Esther to her house.
I think. Wait, Miss Summerson is Esther. I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking for. It's the old lady that led the three to
Miss
her
Flight.
house.
Miss Flight.
Miss Flight. Okay, thank you.
Is she the one who was the rent? Like, was also the renter with the dead guy?
Yes.
Is she? Oh my gosh. I guess I'm not keeping track of the characters very well.
Yeah, Miss Flight lives in Mr. Crook's building, and so did Nemo. They both lived in the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
She just pops up there. Like, she's randomly popping up throughout the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like the crazy old lady who is just like, come over here.
Yep.
I like her with her birds. There's a good quote about her birds that she keeps. It was, I began to keep the little creatures with an object that the words will readily comprehend, with the intention of restoring them to liberty, when my judgment should be given. Yes, they die in prison, though. Their lives, silly poor things, are so short in comparison with chancery proceedings that one by one the whole collection has died over and over. Symbolic. I doubt you do know whether one of these, though they are all young, will live to be free. Very mortifying, is it not? So that was
that section really described my cover. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, cool, you have birds on the cover.
The bird cage. I was like, that makes sense now.
Yeah. Yes. So the people being the birds, people trapped by the courthouse.
Yep.
Trapped by this case.
Connections. You guys are good at this.
There's a lot. Do you have any thoughts on Tulkinghorn? Honestly, names have been horrible. All 3 years.
He also knows more.
Yeah.
He knows more than we know.
Okay, so who is he exactly again? Because I remember the name and I remember the people. I just don't connect the names of the people.
He is tied to the case, or is he a lawyer? Now I'm forgetting too.
He serves Lady Deadlock and does their. Yeah, he does. Maybe he is a lawyer because he's involved in the case between Jarndyce and Lady Deadlock's husband.
Okay, so then he is one of the lawyers. Yeah, he is suspicious.
He knows more about the case, I think.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in the handwriting on the note. And
he has a lot of secrets.
He was trying to get Nemo's documents and stuff.
Yeah, and there weren't any documents in the room when they found his body, right? Like, there were no documents there? If I remember right?
There were, but Tulkinghorn was trying to see what he could get.
Because I was like, that's suspicious if there's no documents and he's a I guess, what is it? Translator, not translator, scribe or whatever you want to call it. If that's his job and there's no documents there to to write down, that'd be strange.
Yeah, he was really interested in was it like a bureau of some kind that was in the room of the dead man? So I'm wondering, there was something that he was interested there. So there's something that that isn't being revealed yet.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a few characters who are hiding a lot of secrets.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It's working on me. I'm desperate to know.
Yep. It's definitely interesting to try and get them all sorted out. How everyone is in everything and what they all know and what they don't know.
Sorry.
Kate.
Kate does not want to say anything. That felt like me last year during Count Monte Cristo. I'm like, I can't say anything because I know everything. So I'm happy to not be the one who has to hide all the secrets.
Okay, yeah, he's Lady Deadlock's husband's lawyer. So yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure he's a lawyer in the case.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, he would be looking for information too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pro the Deadlocks.
Yes.
It's on their side.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could say, like, let's talk about the plot, but I feel like the plot's just the characters right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there isn't really much to describe aside from there's a case and all these people who we're talking about already.
Yeah. Yeah. The plot is how are they tied together? That's the plot. And and even 14 chapters in, it's all still kind of ambiguous.
It really is. Like, we're 23% of the way, I think, is what like the percentage is. And I feel like I don't know anything. Like, I know names of people and some of their relationships. I don't know anything at 23%. But
I apparently don't even know the name, so you're doing better than me.
I know names and then I know people and they're not connected in my head, which is fine. I'll just keep reading and be like, wait, oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, All in Good Time has a comment about Mr. Guppy.
There we go. Yeah, Mr. Guppy's a strange character too.
Yes. So many secrets.
Yeah.
Like, who does she look like? Is she maybe Esther's mom then? Because you remember he likes Esther? He's the one that likes Esther, right?
Yeah, Guppy proposes to Esther.
So,
wow.
Is there a connection there? I don't know.
That's a thought.
That was an interesting chapter, though. I liked hearing all the story of the family drama behind the ghosts and, you know, that expectation.
I liked Esther's reaction to Guppy proposing because she was just like, "Sit down, like don't be irrational, like go away."
I feel like she's kind of going to be the old spinster who just never gets married and just is like the observer on society in this book, at least. That's kind of how I feel.
She's too smart to fall for Guppy because I think Guppy's not like a super great character, or at least he's not like he doesn't have his life together. But she's too smart of a character to fall for that, and so I appreciate like a strong female character in Dickens because I haven't always enjoyed his female characters. So I think some are a lot weaker than others, but Esther is like a strong Dickens female character, and I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting, like looking at all of the movie, like, or the TV miniseries or whatever, they all have Esther on the cover. So clearly she's the main character, although this is an ensemble cast, in my opinion.
He definitely gives her a voice, a strong voice.
Yeah. Although, just being me, if I had, gone to this house and then it was like, oh, now you get to live here. And then suddenly the next that morning, been like, here's the keys. You're the housekeeper. Do all these jobs. Like, that was not what I was arranged to do. That was not the promised deal here. I would have had something to say, but I was just like, great.
Yeah. Well, I guess like in exchange, like she doesn't have anything as an orphaned woman in this time period. So she it's an opportunity for her.
It is. It was just kind of, it's funny. Her reaction was like, yeah, perfect. And it was like, you never were warned that you'd have to be housekeeper for all of Bleak House.
Yeah, that's a big job.
Big house.
I know. And when they go out and do fun things and leave her behind to take care of things, I'm kind of like,
yeah,
that's kind of mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm out of ideas. Does anyone else want us to talk about anything? Or we'll sign off early today. Maybe next time we'll have a lot more to talk about. as
Was there anything you guys thought was funny?
Oh, lots of humor.
there were moments where I chuckled, but I can't remember any of them distinctly.
I have one written down because I was cracking up at various points in this book, and one of those moments was, of course, when the wife. Gosh, hang on. There's somebody is calling Nemo Nimrod, and Mrs. Snagsby was calling Nemo Nimrod. I'm just like, now I can't remember which one is which. Usually, I'm just like Nimrod, Nemo. I don't know. But then also, I just love this couple, Mr. and Mrs. Snagsby, because when I think that was the chapter when I was like convinced, okay, this is a book for me, because Mr. Tulkinghorn goes to their shop and interrupts their tea. And Mr. Snagsby is like, giving obeisance and just being very helping in every way that he can. And his little wife is in the back, like, your tea is getting cold, And so she's kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. And when Mr. Tulkinghorn looks out the window, Mr. Snagsby goes, Tulkinghorn, rich, influential, like with his lips. I was just dying.
Yep.
I just love it.
Definitely got to cater to those people, right?
Even if your tea goes cold, there's no choice in the matter. And he's like horking down the bread whenever he can,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kate was much more knowledgeable about the Victorian era than I am. So
yeah, no, I agree. Like, this would have been an opportunity for Esther. Yeah, she would have seen it as like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better than being destitute or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I just would have been surprised that had been that would have been thrown on you one night and be like, all right, 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. That would have been a surprise.
Not our idea of a great job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could have been a great job because of considering her background, but it would have been shocking to show up and be like, going to bed and be like, here's your keys. I'll see you in the morning to talk about duties. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like she was going there with any like expectations of that. So it's kind of like thrown in her lap.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember laughing at the section where Miss Jillyby wanted to she's like, I just wish Africa was dead. And I was like, yeah, that's the attitude of someone who doesn't get any motherly attention. It was just such a sarcastic and like teenage spite moment. I was like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, she's feisty.
Yeah. And she goes dancing on the purpose of getting away from her mom and finding the guy. Who knows if he's a good one or not? We'll find out. But
so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like are there any other romances other than Richard and Ada so far?
Well, Rosa the maid, right? Like because that's in the Ghost Walk section. Like the grandson is like, who's the pretty maid?
Oh, Rosa.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was Rosa and is it Watt? Mr. Watt or something?
Yeah, because I thought it was Walt and I realized it was Watt with 2 T's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was
there's that one.
It stuck out to me because she was like, oh yeah, it's so hard to get good help. So it's better to start them young. And then later she says she's 19. It's like, that's young in the Victorian era. I would have thought you took her at like 6 to get her young. But
and then they just introduced Esther is interested in someone, like right at the end of chapter 14.
Right.
There's the dark complected
surgeon
at the dinner.
Yes. I know, that was one of the hints. It was like out of the blue to me. There's a surgeon here? What?
Yeah, I also was like, how did he get there? Like, was he here the whole time? It just randomly talked about him.
And if she's interested in him, why hasn't she mentioned him? Like, before?
Just in that one little paragraph, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end.
Like, I always read the Spark Notes summaries because I'm like, I'm going to lose something. So this helps refresh my mind on all the details and connections. And in it was like saying that Esther's like not exactly a truthful narrator, and she like hides stuff, and like so she frequently says, you know, oh, I'm not clever, but then she talks about herself a lot, or like so she does this kind of dual thing where if she's telling the story wrong, it's because she's warned us that she's not very smart, but then she's telling us a lot of information about herself and how good she is at stuff, so which I found very interesting. And then it was saying that she purposely leaves out details, like this guy being at dinner and then randomly just says it. And it's like, this is kind of a normal thing. So it's, yeah, it was weird. It was like, okay, she might be I don't know. She might be an untruthful narrator or unreliable narrator in some points. I don't know. I haven't read it before. I don't know how much we can trust her.
In my opinion, I think she's more humble. She's just like a humble character who's just like, I'm not smart, but then demonstrates that she's very smart, you know? Yeah. That's how I was reading it.
And I was reading it that way too, until SparkNote said, you know, she says, oh, I don't like to talk about myself. And then when Ada says, you know, she helped the Jollibees, and then she goes into detail about all the things she helped them with. It's like, maybe she does like to talk about herself if she's, I don't know anymore. I don't know. So
I like, yeah. Penny mentioned the cat, Mr. Cook's cat that's on his shoulder.
Yeah, I
guess. The cat. It reminds me of in Harry Potter, Crookshanks.
Yeah, Mr. Crook is going to be an interesting one too. But,
yeah, I'm wondering if the guests at Mr. John Darce's house, like we mentioned, Skimpole, and then there's the one who was like really loud. I'm wondering if they're going to be like brought back in again, because to me it just seemed like, why are we describing this person who's just disappearing? Like, but maybe they will become important again later in the plot.
Yeah, maybe. Probably. I feel like it's very early, and Dickens will probably bring back everyone.
Probably. I just don't know what to expect, which is fine. I probably should have read a summary before I started the entire book, but that's fine. Or at least, you know, like a teaser thing, but whatever. Yeah, I know. Okay, it's like you don't have it, or not you. Okay, Christy, sorry, you said that, and it's like I know we don't have much to say, but we keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of mystery, and we just have to keep reading.
Yeah.
I did want to say that we have extra week at the end of the whole time. So if you are behind every week, you can still catch up. Like we are only doing half the amount for the last 2 weeks stint. So there is time to catch up at the end. You just will get spoilers before that point. So
nice.
Yeah, we kind of set it up that way.
That'll be good because we might be like at the end.
Yeah, good to have a buffer.
Yeah.
Of course, it might be moving really quickly at the end. So maybe we won't even need a buffer.
It's true. A lot of the times with my buddy reads, we'll be like, okay, we'll read these many chapters at the last 5 days, separating them out. And then we just read them all in one day because it's typically that engaging, at least the end of it.
Most of this book it was like work to read. Like it was not easy, but then there were certain chapters where I was like flying. So hopefully that's what the end will be like when it's all coming together.
Yeah, same for me.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, at least we have 700 pages to still figure that out before the end. We have a long way to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope it gets better for you, Naomi.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hopeful too. Now that I'm reminded that I need to dedicate time to this throughout the 2 weeks, as opposed to just doing it in the last week.
I think that'll help.
Yes, it will. Because I was like, oh yeah, I don't need to rush on it. And then I was like, this is why I dedicated time last summer every day to reading something.
Yeah, I think this last section, I was trying to do like 20 pages a day, and that would get me there, but I did fall behind. But it's about around there, at least in my edition. It was like 20-ish pages a day. So I'm gonna try to hit that goal.
Yeah, mine's 200 pages for the 2 weeks. So if I read 100 pages within a week, then that's I can break that down. Then that works out well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I think I was having a lot of anxiety because I wasn't quite keeping up throughout that whole time. But then when there was the one, like, couple chapters that were, I was reading them so quickly that I caught up very easily during that period. So I know I don't have to be anxious now, because there'll probably be it's the same with Dostoevsky, where there's always some chapters that are really difficult and take me like a week to get through. And then I will speed read the rest because it's fast moving in different chapters. So like chapters with lots of dialogue, they tend to be easy for me.
Yeah, any of Esther's chapters I found pretty fast reads in her voice. But when Dickens kind of took over and it would become like a literary essay, then I was like, okay, this one's gonna take me a little while.
Well, I feel like it also became harder as there are more characters. Like Esther's just talking with key people that she's engaging with. And then you have the third person talking about all of these different people. And then it's more mental energy to remember, okay, that person's in this story and this person's connected to here. Oh, and here's a new person. And it was just a lot more energy with the third person because it wasn't just Esther's perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Well, I'm ready to sign off if you guys are. I have nothing else to say, genuinely.
Yeah. I think that was a good first discussion.
Yeah. And we'll get more into it as we go through the book.
Yeah, it was just the setup of the book, basically, and introducing a different character in every chapter.
Yeah.
Next time we should like prepare predictions that we have for the future.
So you want to do predictions now for what might happen?
Sure.
That would be fun.
Okay. I don't know what to predict. I'm just gonna predict that someone else dies. Let's throw something out there. I don't know who, I don't know when, I don't know how, but someone else will die. That's my prediction. Anyone else?
I wonder if something tragic will happen with Ada and Richard.
Oh.
Because it seems like he doesn't like hold down work well, and he like doesn't know what he's doing with his life. So I'm wondering if like Richard and Ada as a couple will have like financial ruin or something.
Oh.
Okay.
They do have, I feel like this book did jump a number of years at times, like specifically with Esther narrating. It sort of like it started with her being really young, but then most of the book has been her of a certain age. And Richard and Ada aren't supposed to get together for several years. But now I'm thinking that now that you mentioned that, Victoria, I am wondering maybe we will see them get together in a couple years' time down the line. Yeah. This isn't really a prediction, but I'm very curious to see what happens with the Jarndyce court case and how that is related to all of the mysteries. I'm not terribly good at predictions, but I'm very curious to find out how that's all going to come together.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll have to see what happens in the next one. The next 14 chapters, because we're reading till 28. So that's another 14, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, then we will sign off. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
The next live show will be in 2 weeks, and we'll be covering to the 28th chapter. So should be exciting.
Yes, I'm excited for more answers.
Yeah, although I feel like we're going to have a lot more questions.
Possibly.
Through the book.
Very possible.
Yes. Well, we'll see you all next week then. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.